So, chapter 16, Belimicus ultor. In 16, we saw a review of some question words. So, nay as a suffix, of course, makes a sentence a question, kind of like a question mark. Noom, surely not, a question word expecting a no answer. Later, we'll see another noom that can mean whether, but for now, it's surely not. And then none, surely, a question word expecting a yes answer. Right? Then more significantly, we saw a new tense, a pluperfect tense, and that's had done something that's further in the past in either the imperfect or the perfect. So it happened further in the past in either of those two tenses. And we saw the way it was formed. So two past tense forms together gave us the past in the past. That was the perfect stem plus the form of was, or arat. Right? So all the verbs are underlined in red. So we'll want to identify the tenses, and then we'll see if we can translate Belimicus ultor, Belimicus the Avenger, right? And what happened with him in the boat race. So probably wants revenge for that. Didn't seem like the kind of guy to let things go. So first of all, weak it. So weak it's going to be perfect tense from winko. So the perfect stem is weak, vic. So it has a perfect stem. That's how I know. So that is perfect tense. Ferebot, of course, is imperfect, right? The BA tells us. Erat, of course, is imperfect. That's the exception to the BA rule. Let me get the eraser here. Okay, inwitawarat, that's pluperfect, right? We have the perfect stem. Inwitawa plus the form of was, erat. Then deridavant, imperfect, right? The BA tells you. Deridavant, imperfect again. The BA tells you. Vituperavant, imperfect yet again. The BA tells you. Cognowarant. Okay, this is technically pluperfect. Right? You see perfect stem plus an ending. I say technically because we're going to translate that a little differently when we get to it. Redavant, imperfect because of the BA, of course. Decipit, this is perfect. The long E is a clue in the stem. From decipio, it's an I there in the present. Dixit, of course, is perfect. The X is a clue. Impulit, right? This is also perfect tense. The U is kind of a clue here. It comes from impello. There's not a U there in the present tense. Um, Usually when the U is a clue, it's the end of the stem, but this one's in the middle. Capit, took, right? The long E is a clue. Of course, the long vowel clues usually are inside of the stem, not on the end, right? So it's right where it should be. S, of course, is present. Kogatawit is perfect. The V is a clue that you have a perfect stem. Capit, again, is perfect. We just had that. Erant, of course, is imperfect. Importawarat, pluperfect, right? The perfect stem. Importawa, but instead of a it ending, erat was. So pluperfect had imported. Erat, of course, imperfect. Custodiabat, BA tells you it's imperfect. Adiet, those double I's, that's the perfect of to go. So adiet, he went to something. Est, again, is present. Okay, inquit here is perfect. Delectat, present tense. Wolo and timio, both present. Right, those O endings are present tense I forms, right? Winnie bot, BA tells you it's imperfect. Dabat, the BA tells you it's imperfect. Fekit, the long E is a clue here that you have a perfect stem, and that's a perfect verb. Poduit, same thing with a U. That's our stem clue here that we have a perfect stem. Right? This is the perfect opossum, you recall. Nuntiawit, so perfect tense, the V is a clue. Iwitawit, perfect stem, the V is a clue. Contendit, okay, this is perfect. But it would, in this situation, this third person singular form will look exactly the same if it was present. Context is what really tells me here that it's perfect. It's with these other perfect tense verbs, so it's probably going to be perfect, not present, right? Just makes sense. Dot, that's present. Okay, inquit, we saw perfect. Wollo, present. Possum, present. Wollo, present. Consensit, that's going to be perfect. Be a T if it was present. So the S here is a stem clue. That's perfect. Dixit, of course, still perfect. The X is a clue. Soon, present, I am. And possum, also present, right? Remember, sum and possum form alike. Okay, as we've seen. All right, so the first paragraph. Belimicus, princeps cantiacus postquam, rather, demnorix and curtamine no wildly wicked. rem gravitur fuebat, irratissimus erat, omnes hospites quos rex ad alam evitarat, eam deridebant, Cantiaci quoque eam deridebant, et vituperabant, etiam servi qui de naufragio cognorant, clam redebant. So Belimicus, the Cantiaci chieftain, right? Postquam de Norix and Catamine navi vicit. So after there was vicit, so conquered or beat. The subject, though, we have a new one, Dumnorix. So he's the subject of vicit. So after Dumnorix defeated or beat him, understood, in Catamine Nawali, in the naval race, in the boat race, he was taking the thing badly, who was Belimicus, right? So Belimicus was bearing the thing badly. Irratissimus erat. He was irratissimus, which of course is what degree? Superlative, of course, right? So he was very angry. Omnes hospites. So all the guests, then we have a relative clause. Quos is a relative pronoun. And the antecedent of quos is going to be hospites, the guests. So all the guests, whom the king invitarat. Now we have a pluperfect. Remember, we have to use had when we translate the pluperfect. So whom, because it's accusative, right? So whom the king had invited to the palace. We're mocking him. They're kind of jerks too, aren't they? Cantiaci quoque eam deridebant. The Cantiaci also were mocking him, his own people, and vituperabant, and were cursing him. Oh, this can't stand. Etiam servi, even the slaves, relative clause, qui de naufragio cognorant clam redebant. So even the slaves who cognorant, okay, I can translate this pluperfectly, who had found out about the shipwreck, right? But this we could also take as knew, right? Because the end result of having found something out is to know it. So this is a verb that sometimes we can translate a tense ahead. So I could translate it as a perfect knew, or I could say had found out. Keep it pluperfect. Either way is going to be fine. So who had found out about the shipwreck, or who knew about the shipwreck, redebant, they were laughing or smiling, probably laughing, clam secretly. Right, clam secretly, right? Inside of a clam is nothing because secretly oysters have pearl, it's not clams. I don't know. I don't know that probably doesn't help, but I found it amusing. So they were laughing secretly. Iste demnorix made a kepit. Iste, it's that, just like ille we may have mentioned, but it's with a negative connotation or at least more of a distancing idea. So that demnorix made a kepit. That demnorix deceived me. Belimicus dixit sibi. So Belimicus dixit, perfect tense. He said sibi to himself. Me in saxa impulit. So he drove me into the rocks, right? Again, we have the prefix on impulit and we have the preposition in. You don't have to take them both twice. It's one idea. He drove me into the rocks is good. And he unjustly, right? Well, the adverbs in an E or TER took the premium, the prize, the reward. It is decorum. It is fitting for the dative, for me, or mihius dative, and penire, to punish him. Not a good loser. Norwich is not a good winner. Belimicus secum cogitavit. So Belimicus thought. Secum with himself. In English, we would say to himself, right? So he thought with himself, he thought to himself, and he concilium calidum cepit. He took a clever plan. That is, of course, he came up with a clever plan. Calidum, of course, is what declension of an adjective, first and second, right? So it has a second declension ending here because concilium is actually a neuter, right? So it takes a second declension ending, just like a masculine does, but the second declension neuter endings that we've already seen. So he took a clever plan, came up with a clever plan. There were in the palace, aula, if because of course ablative, because in is it says face, that's where we have the macron on the A is the ablative. So in the palace were multi-bestiae. That's nominative, right? So the word over here you might think is kind of funky. We have in aula, in the palace, that's a prepositional phrase. We can just kind of set that off in our mind for the moment. What do we have left? Errant multi-bestiae. Multi-bestiae can be nominative plural, and I need a nominative plural for errant, right? So that works as a subject, works logically too, right? So in the palace were many beasts, wild animals, relative pronoun, which the king, pluperfect, right? So had imported from many lands. Multis terris, ablative, object of the space, e, which is short for ex. Right? So the relative pronoun quas, the antecedent is bestiae, which is feminine. So the beasts are feminine. So which the king had imported from many lands. Right? So why would it have to be pluperfect? Because that had to have happened before the errant were in the palace, right? Before they were in the palace, they had been imported. That happened first, right? So that's how the pluperfect works. Inter haec animalia, so inter, between or among, that's more than two than among, so among these animals. Animalia is neuter. Remember, a plural a in the nominative or accusative is neuter, a neuter plural a. So among these animals was a huge bear or a she-bear, ursa is feminine, right? Which a German slave custodiabat, right? We talked about this in class. I'm sure I'll mention the Simpsons episode where the old guy in the park marries what he thinks is a she-bear. So yeah, that to look forward to. Which a German slave was guarding, right? So relative clause here, quam is a relative pronoun. The antecedent is the bear, right? The bear which the German slave was guarding. Belimicus ad hunc surum adiet. So Belimicus approached or went to the slave. Again, notice the prefix and the preposition, but only take it once. It's one idea. So he approached the slave or went to the slave. Hoc animal est magnificum. So this animal is magnificent, right? So first and second adjective, magnificum, modifying a neuter, so it's um in the nominative. Right? Remember, you wouldn't have an accusative with est, he said. Me vade delectat. It pleases me very much. I like it a lot. Orsam tractare volo. I want to tractare orsam. I want to handle the bear. Am non timeo. I'm not afraid of her. Sorry. Non timeo. I'm not afraid am of her or of it. Right. So the she bear could call her, I guess. Itaque. Therefore, princeps ad orsam quotidie veniva. So therefore the chieftain Winieba was coming or would come every day, so it's repeated action. That would be imperfect appropriately. So every day he would come to the she-bear. Orsai, all right, so orsai looks like it could be a nominative plural, but I can look ahead here and see dabat is a singular verb, so that's out. So it can't be nominative plural, so it's actually going to be dative singular. So it's going to be to the she-bear. To the she-bear, the verb is daba. We should have started there anyhow, right? He was giving, or he would give, the accusative, kibum et aquam, food and water. Then orsai is the only word we have left over. And with a verb like daba, you're expecting an accusative and a dative, so he was giving food and water, orsai, to the she-bear. So palatum means gradually. Orsam mansuetum fecit. He made the she-bear mansuetum tame. Because apparently that's how you do it. Just give them food and water and they become tame. So gradually, he made the Orsam mansuetum. He made the she-bear tame. Tandem, finally. So finally, right, not to be confused with Tamen, finally, alone, Orsam tractare potuit. He was able, right, the perfect tense of posum, potest. So alone, he was able to Orsam tractare, handle the bear. So the German slave didn't have to be there. He could handle it by himself. Mox Cogidibnus canum et spectaculum nuntiavit. So soon Cogidibnus announced dinner and a show. Amicos ad alum invitavit. So invitavit, he invited. The accusative, amicos, prepositional phrase, ad alum, to the palace. He invited his friends to the palace. Belimicus immediately ad surum Germanicum contendit. So immediately he hurried to the German slave. Rex hodie spectaculum dat. So dat gives. Is there a subject? Yeah, Rex. So Rex, third declension nominative. The king gives a show today. So the king is putting on a show today. He said, today, hunc orsam in aulum ducere volo. So the verb is volo. I want, the complementary infinitive ducere, I want to lead this bear in aulum, in plus the accusative into. So I want to lead this bear into the palace. Nunc am tractare possum. So now I am able to tractare am, to handle her. Right? Tractare, remember, is an infinitive of the first conjugation. Right? If conjugation is a family of verbs, a declension is a family of nouns. Hospitibus, am ascendere volo. So verb is volo. I want to ascendere, to show. Right? Just like do, ascendo frequently takes an accusative and a dative. So I want to show the accusative, am, her, to the dative, to the guest. Hospitibus, third declension dative plural. Right? So I want to show her hospitibus to the guests. Service Invitus consensus. The slave Invitus unwillingly, like he had to be invited, he unwillingly agreed. Right? Perfect tense again. Consensus, we've seen before. Be a T if it was present. So the S is a stem clue here. That's perfect. So agreed. Belimicus, cackling, laughing. Sibi Dixit said to himself. Remember the S words are reflexives, refers back to the subject, in this case Belimicus. He said, Paratus sum, I am prepared. Paratus. The Coast Guard are semper paratus, always prepared. Right, so the Marines are always loyal, the Coast Guard is always prepared. Nunc demnorigam punere possum. So now, okay, the verb is possum. I am able to do the complementary infinitive to punish demnorix. Right? And there's our bear, and appears to be a girl dancing with hammers. Right? Both can be dangerous. Rawr. All right, so what's going to happen with the bear? It's going to be one of the best stories you read in the blue book, the story with the bear, particularly where we hear the recording of it. So when we read about what happens with the bear, make sure I play the recording because it's pretty good. All right, until next time.